Today I'm going to be bringing in James Monteiro, up and coming parkour gym and fitness buff. He's here to talk about his story, his mission, what he's trying to do and uncover in the next 6 months before he goes into the military. Let's bring him in. I believe in you, James. Oh, okay. There you go. Perfect. That was a little bit of an upset, but we got it. How are you doing today, James?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I want to thank everybody for having a little bit of patience during that little technical issue. Thankfully, we figured it out. And now we're good to go. So, without further ado, James, could you tell us just a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, what brought you to this live stream today?
Sure. My name's James, for everyone who doesn't know me. James Monteiro, and I was born and raised here in Providence, Rhode Island. Mm-hmm. I'm originally from the east side of Providence, mm-hmm. So like Mount Hope neighborhood. I grew up playing outside with my friends on the street.
Mm-hmm. James, could you turn your phone? You're sideways for us right now.
Right. Sure. Sorry, my phone is like charging right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, gotta figure out a way to balance it. There we go. Perfect. Balancing it up with my water bottle here.
That's perfect. Right.
So yeah, what brought me here was you, Jarrison. You offered this to me the other day to share my story, because you noticed that I wanted to kind of get people to know who I am first. So here I am.
Cool. So yeah, you were telling us about Mount Hope. Could you tell us a little bit about what it was like for you growing up in Providence, Rhode Island?
Yeah, sure. So glad you asked. For me, growing up in Providence was like, I'm only speaking for myself. I felt safe. I felt safe growing up, and I felt like I had friends, in my journey. And I grew up with some kids on the street. We'd play outside all the time. I had a really, really great childhood here in Providence. Got to see lots of different places as a very young kid. When I became a bit older, like a teenager, I would venture out more downtown, get to explore a little bit more. It was just so different for me. My aunt kind of kept me and my cousins on the street. We weren't allowed to like leave the street. It was like a big thing. I guess she didn't want us to get exposed to some of the gangs that were around at the time. You had I was on Duncan Avenue, and right down the street there was this theater called Everett Dance Theater. And I would go there with my friends, Jacob and Eric, and we would go there, make videos, learn how to do improv, make music, things like that. And when we weren't there, we were outside playing games, making up games to play. We created this cool game called like a manhunt type of version, like of a game, if you will. And we would like run in each other's backyards and stuff, and it's kind of cool. So I would say growing up in Rhode Island has been, somewhat of a fun time for me, at least. And as sheltered as I was also like not as sheltered as a lot of kids. I could still go outside and stuff. So.
That's super cool. And then, did you stay in that area for your whole childhood, or did you ever end up moving?
Funny enough, I hear a lot of stories. Most kids end up moving to different places, one place after another. But I was blessed to be able to live in the same place, in the same street, in the same house. Mm-hmm. Not only for that, but my family owned the property, mm-hmm. So that was good. That's one reason why that's what kept us here throughout the gentrification that has happened on the east side. As we all know, it's like really nice there, and probably one of the most expensive places to live in Providence. But my grandmother, at the time when she was alive, owned the owned a white house at the bottom, and my aunt owned the house right next door. And my uncle owned the house right up the street. So my whole family was pretty much on the same street. So, you know, if you needed anything, you could just go up the street. If you needed Uncle Dom, you could go ahead and knock on his door. If you needed your aunt, you could just go knock on their door. And my Nana was also living downstairs at the time, my grandmother's mother. My father came back home and moved into my grandmother's house. So it's like we were always on Duncan Avenue. That's like, and we're like the only ones besides like maybe four other neighbors of ours that have stayed on that street for more than a decade. Or, you know, about longer than 20 years, I would say.
And you're still there today?
I'm not there today, no. For the past 3 years or so, 3 or 4 years or so, I've been on my own. Means I moved out of my grandmother's house. At the time, by the way, I was living with my grandmother. My grandmother was my legal guardian. She took me in at a very, very young age. I also ended up living with my aunt for a majority of my childhood. I forgot to mention. I lived with her and my cousin Nia, who is like my sister pretty much. I mean, if you live with a cousin for more than 12 years in a row, then I mean, it's kind of like your sister. So, you know, got to have a sister, even though I didn't have a sister, if that makes sense. I always had brothers and sisters, but they weren't with me. So,
and so you ended up moving away for any reason? You just wanted to be on your own, or?
Yes, I ended up moving for a few reasons. Because I was with my from prison, I moved in with him, and he ended up having a baby with my stepmother.
Who was that? I'm sorry, I missed. Who was the person that had a child with your step?
Oh, my stepmother. She's from Morocco. My dad, my sister, and my stepmother, my stepsister are Muslim. They practice the Islamic faith, and he was very, very. He was practicing that very much in prison, and it's pretty much what saved his life. So when he came out, he ended up marrying, and you know, she was beautiful, by the way, very, 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 very good cook, everything. You know, I had a great time when I was 16, 17, 18, because I got to at least, despite my grandmother being my legal guardian and growing up with my aunt and my cousin, I at least got to live with my dad in my childhood. So I'm really, really grateful for that. So I ended up actually, to answer the question, I ended up moving because, you know, my dad came home. He was more of like a father. He was a father figure. You know, he was pretty stern, pretty tough on me, and wanted me to go out and experience life on my own. You know, and I thank him for that, because I was considered a spoiled kid growing up. You know, I had everything, you know, despite what, despite, you know, the color of my skin, I was very fortunate to be in a family who cared about me, be a family who had things, who learned tough lessons in life and only wanted the best for me and wanted me to be happy. So my dad tried to push me out the house very soon. Didn't really happen until I was 21, but when I hit 18, that's when he really wanted me to go out, get a job, but I ended up moving out when I was 21 years old, 22. This was my first day when I was homeless. So I wasn't quite ready, but my dad made me go. And ended up getting on my feet quickly. I ended up getting a job, getting a room. I also ended up, living with my friend George at the time. And I also ended up moving to Boston for about a year. I lived in Boston, Somerville for about a year, and I was teaching parkour for Parkour Generations out there.
So you bring up parkour, and I know that you have expressed pretty frequently to me how much you love parkour and how much it means to you. So please, for the viewer watching, tell us how you got started in parkour and the journey that led you to this today.
Sure. So I got started with parkour in high school. High school was a bit difficult for me. The reason being was because I just couldn't, I don't know what it was, but it was either I wasn't applying myself or I just wasn't interested. And I think it was a mixture of both. I was.
What was a mixture of both? I'm confused as the viewer.
So my reasons for, so I'm getting to how I started parkour and why, but like this is kind of like a backstory of how it came to be. For the most part, parkour for me seemed very out of the ordinary when I first got put onto it, and I always felt like I was an out of the ordinary kid in high school. And this reason why I said is like I wasn't applying myself or I just wasn't like interested in school was because of that, because I felt always I was an out of the ordinary kid. And I started to feel like that when I was about, in ninth grade, when when things started to take a turn for me socially. I found out that I didn't really fit in, or didn't feel like I wanted to fit in, if you will. Well, I'll take that back. I did want to fit in. I grew up thinking there was something wrong with me because I didn't fit in, because I didn't. So it wasn't until after high school and because of parkour, I realized that there's nothing wrong with me. I just felt I was just different. Or just wanted to be different. At least my desire to be different outweighed the desire to want to fit in. So parkour came at that time. I was actually rapping at the time, writing poetry, and when parkour showed itself through like a video, I ended up seeing people who did it in Pawtucket, and I said, oh wait, I know where that is. That there's people doing it here, so I can probably meet up with them and try to train. So me and my friend Joel at the time in high school, he's still my friend, by the way. Shout out to Joel. He and I were in the gym class doing parkour over the vaults. We were just looking at videos, applying what we saw in gym class, and we would do that every single gym class. It got so bad to the point we started failing gym, actually, because we wasn't doing everything else. We ended up failing gym and just like kind of going in the back and doing our own thing. I felt we were far more active though than everyone else, because we were practicing push-ups, sit-ups, doing vaults over things, climbing over the walls, even though we shouldn't. I did pass gym, by the way, with a C- after.
Yeah. And so I know you've been a part of a couple different parkour groups. Could you tell us a little bit about like the first one that formed and kind of how they morphed into each other and helped you develop your parkour journey?
Sure. So I ran into my friend Dimitri, who's currently my friend now. My friend Dimitri, downtown Providence, right on that, like when you go to AS 220, there's like some places, there's like you go up and there's some walls, there's places where some skaters hang out. You may know it, you may don't, but I saw him doing a move there, like a type of parkour move. I didn't know who he was, so I was
you're talking about at the Trinity Park?
Yes, the Trinity Park. So right over there, I saw someone. This is the first time I saw someone in Providence do it. The first time I saw anyone do it, other than me and Joel, was in Pawtucket. But that's when I ran into someone from the Runners of Pawtucket, the parkour group that was out there. And his name was Zeth, and he was excited that I was on the wall, and he's like, oh, dude, you do parkour? And I was like, yeah, I do parkour. Do you do parkour? And he was like, yeah, come down here and train with me. So right off the bat, boom, I ended up having a friend just because I had something in common with that person, and he noticed it. So he asked me to come over, and he wanted to see what I could do. So I ran up the wall. He showed me one thing after the other, and I was doing it, and we thought we were pretty good. So then the next time I met someone, I believe it was Dimitri who I was talking to, and this is when I saw that, wow, this is a group. They're all over the place, and they're all friends. The group I ended up running into, the Runners of Pawtucket, they were all friends in high school, and they went to Tolman, And I went to Times 2 in Providence. So when they started someone else doing parkour in Providence, they wanted to train with me. And then eventually I ended up becoming one of them, part of their team. They initiated me on their team. Each and every one of us had to do a specific roof gap in Pawtucket in order to show our signs of initiation. So I thought that was pretty cool because I felt like I was being welcomed into a brotherhood at the time. You know, it was from one roof to another. So I ended up doing it, and then that opened the door to many other communities. So the runners were the lead parkour group in Rhode Island. We ended up forming what's called Parkour Rhode Island, the community. Well, Jonathan Monteiro formed it, actually. He's the founder of it, but it was happening all at the same time, if you will. And then that community started building. And then we started seeing more YouTube videos, seeing how it was a worldly thing, and that there were people in Boston. There was a jam called the Hub Jam, and we would go there religiously every single year since 2012 on. We've been to every single hub, and right now we're on the 10th hub. This is the 10 years anniversary of Hub, and you know, now they have a gym. Hub has a gym in Norton, Mass, and yeah, I eventually worked at Hub as a coach, and then I moved to Parkour Generations and worked with them. So I got to, you know, I started off with my little community with my friends, to a much bigger community that we've created, to going out into the world and becoming part of a larger community, and then getting to work for these larger communities, these organizations, and getting to learn coaching skills and learn more about the sport that I love. So that's how it came to be.
That sounds so beautiful. Please tell me now a little bit about your plans for the next 6 months, for what you want to do in the next couple of years in relation to parkour and your journey.
Sure. Well, I plan, and these next 6 months are going to be very centered on creating a brand, I want to rekindle a fire in Providence, Rhode Island, where a community once was, and I want to bring it back, kind of like when you update a video game and it's like version 1.0 and then 1.5 and the 2.0. I want to have like a Parkour Rhode Island community, but a 2.0 version. So like so I want it to be new and improved. I want there to be more focus on that, because I think as it was happening, we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know it could go anywhere, and I think that's one of the reasons why it died out, is the attention to it kind of got lost after the leaders in the community weren't really, their goals, their aspirations weren't really in that, and it just died. So I want to bring it back. I want to use these next 6 months to, you know, even with the coronavirus going on right now, hopefully everyone's safe and well with that, by the way. Despite that, I want to still do something to improve the community here, to add new people, to get more people into parkour that wouldn't have otherwise, if they didn't know about it, if they wanted to and didn't know where to go. I want there to be a knowing, at least in Providence, that there's someone here that can be a doorway for parkour, and to help get people started themselves to go out there and get inspired on their own, to get them to a point to get inspired on their own to go out and do parkour. And if I could just make that little impact in these next 6 months, I think I would have done my job. Aside from that as well, I want to create a brand. I already made a logo pretty much.
Do you have it on hand?
I do, actually. Right here. It's work in progress, but so what the name of this is going to be called is called Sense Parkour. You know, I want it to be a subcategory or sub-community or I guess, brand within Parkour Rhode Island. Since Jonathan Monteiro already made Parkour Rhode Island, I want to enrich Parkour Rhode Island by creating eventually one day a parkour gym, where this can be a place where people can come in and train and feel like parkour exists here. And Parkour Rhode Island could be what it always has been, which is, like, you speak of the word nexus. I think of it's like a nexus for everything parkour movement related in Providence. And if you look on the description of what Parkour Rhode Island is, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, this is the logo I created. So the I, the S, the P, and the K. I created it in this like cool flowy pattern where it's like the I goes into the S, kind of like cursive. And then kept the same font type of the I with the K. So if you flip it, it looks just like the I. I mean, when I'll make it on the computer, I'm sure it'll look way better than this. Obviously, this is hand drawn. And then on top, so far I create a circle with like that kind of looks like a maze, because I think of inner sense as like your inner sense, your inner being, your inner person. And people have layers. If you ever watch Shrek talks to Donkey and says, humans have layers, donkeys don't. But anyway, so humans have layers. So I created this circle with layers, with little openings that, if kind of like a maze, like we want to get to our center being. Our center being needs to project out. So I'm going to create this little piece that comes out of it. Now, again, it's a rough copy, but, I start with this. I made many logos before it. I always start with drawing something crappy and then drawing something semi not really that crappy, but a little better, and then better and better, and then it gets refined stuff. Anyway,
that's really gorgeous to see.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I love that you were able to, in this little bit of time since the last time we spoke, create that logo and kind of demonstrate to people your willingness to create deliverables and create like a way for this to grow into not just a little idea, but a raging community. Hello there. Your voice seemed to have stopped. James? I still have internet. Hey there, Alec.
Looking at Zoom's being weird on my computer. Okay, yeah. Looking at the live stream, like the whole time he was like having sort of internet problems, and it was saying it was notifying me that he had low bandwidth and stuff. I think oh wait, no, he's back.
I'm back. Hey. What's up, Alec?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, James, I feel like that was a really wonderful segment. I want to thank you for coming on the show. Alec, could you help James have the last little exit while I talk to the people coming on next?
Yeah, of course. You'd prefer for me to speak with him privately a bit?
No, just speak with him right here. I'm just getting the people ready.
Yeah. Anyway, something I want to say really quick is that to the people watching this show, you should realize that when I'm not actually on camera, I'm probably enjoying what's going on as much as you are, because James, that was so, like, you gave your whole life story and it just led up to parkour, and it was way more interesting than I even expected it to be. You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I see you. But yeah, also you pulled out the logo and I was into it, but then like at first it wasn't really coming up on the camera. So then I was I'm gonna have to break it to him later that it didn't show up. And then it showed up and it was like this cool ass like circle and you had the letters and stuff. Wait, can I see it again?
Sure. I don't know if it's like backwards for you because of the camera mirroring.
I think it only does that for you. But either way, like, that looks like an actual logo. Like, if it didn't look like it was made with pencil and marker, that could actually be on a product.
Thank you.
Also, like, the idea of a parkour gym sounds super cool. So I hope for you that it does become a reality. And if it does, you can expect to see me there.
Word, man. Word. Yeah. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. So you're welcome here on other shows. We can always find a way to fit you in.
Okay.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on this time. See you later,
Hey,
James.
thanks for having me, Alec and Jerrison, if he's still here. If not,
Oh,
thank
I
you,
can hear
everybody.
everything.
Yeah, he's still here.
Well, thanks again, Jerrison, for everything that you do, and thank you for having me on this show. I really, really am humbled and appreciated for it. So,
Of course, we're
You're
all
great to
doing our
have,
part.
honestly.
Yeah. I was really inspired by the things that you said, and I think that the people watching will be as well. Be sure you can always download this live stream, cut it up, and use it to speak to your friends, show them what you're doing. Don't be afraid to do that.
For sure.
All right. I'm gonna let you go now, but it was really good to see you. All right.
All right, Jefferson. Take care, man. Good to see you too.
Peace.